Well, good morning, everyone. Sorry for showing you my back and the back of my head, but I'm doing that because I'm all alone here in my man cave. We're not on set this morning because the set is shut down on Paramount Lot, so I am in my man cave, and I'm kind of a one-man crew here as far as taping is concerned. You're used to seeing me with fancy lighting and a big set, music when I walk on, but I need to be here alone today as I take the guidelines of the CDC, Dr. Fauci, the preeminent expert, very seriously, and I'm respecting every one of them that's been given, and I encourage you to do exactly the same thing. We were told to go on hiatus when we were almost done for the season. And we could just shut down and not see us until September. But I've been watching what is happening, and I am very, very concerned about all of you and about this whole country. And just to be honest, rather than taking a prolonged vacation, I really feel a sense of duty. You guys have supported me for 20 years. You've made me number one, and I'm very appreciative of that. And I just couldn't sit home and do nothing when I see what's going on out here. I owe it to you. I owe it to the country to talk about what the world's experts, the top people in immunology and infectious disease, have shared with me, what I've learned, what I know, and what I see. And let me be very clear. I'm not an immunologist, I'm not an infectious disease expert, but I do have access to these people that probably most of you don't have access to, and I've been very careful to take all the politics out of this and gather what they have told me, purely science. Purely science. And it has really frustrated me to turn on the phone, and the first thing I do is I hear the liberals talking about what the conservatives haven't done, and the conservatives talk about what the liberals haven't done. That just really upsets me. When we should, if there's ever been a bipartisan issue, it should be this one. So I just had to come down here and talk to you, to just turn the camera on, walk away, and sit down and talk to you, because I am concerned about the mental health aspect of what's going on here. And it is virtually being ignored. A few people are saying something here and something there, but I'll tell you what I believe. This is stress, this is pressure. And I believe as many or more people can die from the stress, pressure, suicide, and violence than could die from this virus itself. We have to attend to what's going on. We have to attend to what's happening to people that are being forced into isolation, people that are losing their jobs, people that are watching everything happen around them. This is the biggest mental emotional crisis that this nation has faced since 9/11. So I want to begin a series that deals with the coping strategies, the red flags that you can spot, that you can see coming for you, for your children, for your parents. And I want to deal with how to cope. And I'm going to be talking about this on the internet. I'm going to be talking about it on my social platforms. I'm going to be talking about it here, everywhere that I can find a portal. And so what I want you to do, if you will, is tell your friends to watch. Tell your friends to watch this show as we... Let me turn my computer off. It's trying to talk to me, and I don't want to talk to it. So I want you to tell your friends to watch this. I want you to tell your friends to tune in, and if they can't, then you tell them what I said, because we just need to share all the information we can so we can change your path. Look, our economy is in collapse. Jobs are at stake. Parents are overwhelmed and don't know how to keep their children safe. Anxiety is through the roof. So where do we turn? What do we do? We're prisoners in our own homes. And this is a high-pressure environment. It's danger, money crash, fear. People are buying guns. with all of that pressure, they're out buying guns. What could possibly go wrong here? You know, the Harvard School of Public Health did a very big study, and they find a powerful link between gun ownership and suicide. 30,000 people a year die by suicide, and that 1 out of every 45 attempts are successful. And you know what the main thing is that creates successful attempts at suicide is lethality being available. And what's more lethal than a gun? For example, in Wyoming, 63% of the homes have guns in them, and the suicide rate is higher there than it is in states where there are fewer guns. And listen, this isn't a Second Amendment argument by me. What I want you to do, if you have guns, if you've gone out and bought these guns, is put them where they're less available to other people. Most suicides, a big part of suicide, is impulse. And when people don't succeed, they're glad they didn't. So I want you to lock those guns up. Don't make them available. Put them outside the house. Do something where they're not available to those people that are vulnerable. So that's the main thing, because that gun that you buy could be the most lethal thing in your entire home. 2/3 of all gun deaths are suicide, and half of all suicides involve guns. So I'm really bothered that people have just made a run on the gun stores. So we are locked up in our homes. But on the flip side, what a great bonding opportunity with your spouse and your children. It's the time that you've always wished you had, but you had to go to work, you had to do other things. Be creative, use that time. And I'm going to be talking about all of this and more over the coming days. But first, here in the United States, 100,000 schools have closed, and it's resulting in over 40 million children forced to stay at home and leaving their parents with a new set of challenges, with homeschooling and that sort of thing. So what I want to do is say, look, let's not just worry about that. Let's seize that. Let's create this opportunity to get closer to our children. Let's talk about opportunities to really listen to them. So I want to turn this crisis into an opportunity, and I want to listen to you. I want you to write to me. I want to hear what you have to say. Now, Mom and Dad, today I'm going to answer your crucial questions about parenting under quarantine. That starts right after the break. Tomorrow we continue our series on the coronavirus. Many people are feeling crippling anxiety over this pandemic. Now, you may be one of them. We'll be talking with Vanessa, whose elderly mother contracted the virus in a nursing home, and she fears her mom will die alone. You don't want to miss tomorrow's show. But right now, we're talking about how the COVID-19 pandemic has put millions into self-isolation or quarantine in an attempt to prevent the virus from spreading. It's also created a whole new level of stress, anxiety, and unique problem for parents. So I'm wanting to address that because I think the mental health aspect of this has really been neglected. So joining me via Zoom are Frances and her 15-year-old daughter, Leo. Now, Leo says her mom refuses to allow her to hang out with her friends. So, guys, welcome. You're talking to me from home where you are observing isolation, correct?
Yes.
So,
No.
Go ahead, Leo.
Oh, no. So we've been just having like a lot of arguments because I am not allowed to see my friends right now. And I was wondering, how can we compromise on a way for me to have a social life while also like staying safe?
Okay, well, let me ask you something. When you are aware of much more than your mother or I, I'm sure, of all of the technology that's available in terms of FaceTime and all the social platforms. And if you were with your friends, you're saying that you would observe social distancing, you would stay away from them, right?
Yeah, we would definitely try and like keep our distance from each other and be like follow the like 6 foot apart rule and stuff like that.
Okay, and Frances, what's your position on this? You're very rigid about this, right? You won't even allow her friends or her boyfriend to come over to the house, right?
No, nobody can come in the house. She has a relatively new boyfriend who has come by and stood outside the house to say hello for a few minutes.
Okay.
But that's about it.
All right. And what's your fear if you say, okay, you can go meet them at the park or whatever?
I have a few fears. I'm not sure that they're actually going to be able to keep distance from one another, particularly a newish boyfriend and girlfriend. And I just don't really trust that people will tell the truth about their own exposures. So I'd like to keep control over the things that I know I can keep control over.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Leo, do you appreciate the consequences if you do go out and you do interact with someone that maybe isn't showing any symptoms? I mean, maybe your boyfriend says, look, I'm not showing any symptoms here. And so no problem. You're clean, I'm clean, so we can give each other a hug and a kiss and all of that. Do you understand the consequences if he does infect you and you come back and give that to your mother?
I definitely do understand the risk, and that's why I haven't been that angry with her. It's just really hard to like practice that, and it's so much easier said than done, especially for me. But I do understand, obviously, like the risk to everyone and like the community as a whole if we were to like not practice social distancing.
Yeah, because as we've shown, this is not a snow day here. This is something that you really have to wrap your mind around. And I've looked at the kids down on Miami Beach on spring break. And I'm sure you guys have seen that image where they just go down and it's like nothing ever happened. They're just on spring break down there and when you ask these kids, they say, look, hey, if I get it, I get it. I'm willing to take the risk. But the problem is the risk just isn't about these kids or just about you. Because the whole point is if we don't isolate, then this will spread. And the way we stop this from ravaging the nation is we stop the spread. And the way we stop the spread is by isolating. And it comes down to whether you're going to be driven by immediate gratification, and teens tend to think that way. They want what they want when they want it, and they want it right now. Or they're going to say, look, I recognize long term that if I give in to what I want and then I come home and make my mother sick or others around me sick, that's going to really make me feel bad because, frankly, they could die so you could go to the park. Are you really willing to take that risk?
Yeah, and I understand that. It's just really hard to like sit at home and be alone for such a long period of time. And my online school hasn't started yet either.
And is it going to get harder?
Yes, to do this for months and months.
Well, but that's the reality we're in. Look, nobody wanted this, and your mother didn't want this. But, Francis, I'm just going to be very clear. I have to side with you here 100%. And if the boyfriend wants to come over and sit out in the yard and they talk through the window where they're respecting social distancing, that's what I would do. But you have a responsibility to make sure that they are respecting this. So stand your ground. And Leo, I know this is tough. I hate it for you. But if we'll just stick to our guns, this too will pass. So Leo, Francis, thank you for bringing your question.
Thank you.
All right, next, no prom, no senior trips, and the likelihood of high school graduation just simply being canceled, leaving millions of teens heartbroken. That's after the break. With schools shut down due to the threat of the coronavirus, millions of high school seniors have now been locked out of making precious memories. Joining me from North Carolina are Hillary and her 17-year-old daughter, Caitlin, who is one of those would-be graduating teens. So, guys, thank you so much for talking about this because you represent an awful lot of people that are in your same situation. And, Caitlin, let me start with you. A lot of things that you had planned on have just been canceled, right? What all has been taken out?
So I just found out that our prom yesterday was canceled. In Durham, most likely graduation is going to be canceled. If not, it'll be online, which is like not what I thought would happen at all. I'm a big, like, in chorus, like, all of our future chorus concerts are canceled, which is really sad because, like, chorus just means a lot to me because I've been doing it since 6th grade. Yeah, just like everything's canceled. I can't see my friends, you know, I'm obviously stuck here. Just like all the prom, I already said prom, but like
Really?
everything, like, these last 2 months were supposed to be like the most important months of high
course.
school.
And Hillary, this is heartbreaking for you as a mother to watch her miss out on all of these opportunities, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have a prom dress upstairs waiting. Last Thursday, her spring chorus concert was canceled. Her last dress up concert. She was supposed to perform at Durham Performing Arts Center, which is a huge school-wide, like, district performance where there's like elementary school through high school. We're supposed to perform at this one place.
Right.
That was canceled.
And her 18th birthday is coming up in 2 weeks, and you can't even celebrate that. So let me just ask you a straight-up question, because we have to stay really tight here. As a mother, do you feel really helpless that you can't help her here?
Yeah, I mean, this was her year, and it was all about her these past next few months. And now we're quarantined, and there is no special anything, you know. There's no pictures, no gatherings, no nothing. Yeah. And it's just kind of empty. And I don't know how to, like, make her still feel super special as if it was still her time to shine. Does that make sense?
It does. And let me weigh in here if I can, because let me tell you what's special. What's special is your daughter being safe and healthy. And that's your primary job as a parent, is to come out of the other end of this tunnel with her being safe and healthy and you being safe and healthy. That's what's really special. And these memories that you're talking about, do everything you can to create those experiences, because this is going to come to an end. This is going to peak, and we're going to come out the other side of this. And a lot of these things are going to be post-dated. You're going to have to say, all right, you know what, we're going to get this class together and we're going to have that dance. We're going to get this class together and we're going to have that graduation. We're going to do some things that are later than we planned, but we are going to have those experiences. But in the meantime, put that dress on, take those pictures, create those memories that will mean something 20 years from now, and it will be the most memorable time of any prom ever because it was under quarantine. Nobody else will be able to say that. You know, recognize what you do have instead of what you don't have. And honestly, this isn't forever. It will come, it feels like forever, but it will come to an end. And if these kids want it, they will get together and create those things once we get the all clear. Just know that it's going to come to an end, but honestly, put those things together and take those pictures, celebrate those things, use technology. All of you get together where you're all on the screen at one time and have fun. And I know you can do that, so I'm going to really want to hear. Send me a picture, will you?
Yes, thank you, Dr.
All right, well, thank you, Hillary and Caitlin. All right, next, a mom who has 4 kids all locked down under one roof. She says she's about to lose her mind. We're going to meet her after the break. Many people are experiencing crippling anxiety due to the coronavirus pandemic. Now, Sarita is a widowed single mom and worries about being able to pay her bills. Andrea lost her job and has older parents with health conditions. Tomorrow, we'll be talking with them and others who are having a hard time facing their fears. But right now, with many of our nation's schools closed and many parents mandated to work remotely, spending 24/7 locked down in a house together with their children, parenting challenges, to say the least, are on the rise. Joining me is Marion, who says being locked up with her 4 kids are driving her crazy. So, Marion, thanks for joining me. Tell me what's going on with these children.
Well, it's just been a new dynamic having all of them home all day long, all week long. And they are just going a little stir crazy, and we're kind of running out of ideas of fun things to do. I feel like I'm entertaining them all the time. My son was just telling me, Mom, I'm bored. Mom, I'm so bored. Mom, I'm so bored. Yeah.
I see him kind of bouncing around in the back there. So you've got a 13-year-old, an 11, 8, and 7, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you are married, and your husband is doing a lot of remote appointments with college students, right? He's having to work with them remotely because he can't meet with them on campus. So he's wall to wall as well.
Yep.
So tell me, what do you tell the children? What do you put on them as far as their standard of expectation?
Well, I try to, like, you know, they know the severity of not being out. It's just hard when the kids, you know, are just on top of each other. Like, they're continually around each other. And I feel like I almost have to separate them. And then I have to separate myself because they just get, like, upset with each other that, you know, one's not doing something or whatever. Hey.
Okay, is who's out in the background swinging the bat in the
That's
den?
my son.
Okay.
We are a busy go-to family. Usually we're out at soccer games or baseball games, or, you know, we're always doing all kinds of things. And now just being home, it's like you can only, you know, pass the ball to each other so many times, or, you know, play catch so many times, or, you know, and heaven forbid I try to get them to do any homework or schoolwork.
Okay. Well, let me interrupt you, because I want to start with this heaven forbid, okay? Because I'm going to give you some advice that you're going to think, yeah, easier said than done, Dr. Phil. You should come spend some time at my house. I understand that's what you're going to think and say, but I'm going to tell you something that you need to heed, and if you don't, you're in for hell. So this is something I really hope you hear. These kids are capable of doing more than what they're doing right now. And honestly, you don't need to be a drill sergeant, but you need to sit these children down and you need to let them know, listen, I didn't create this situation, but we're in it, and each of you has a responsibility. And we need to talk about what that is. And for example, it doesn't include swinging a bat in the living room, for example. That kind of behavior, we just can't do that. And I can't entertain you 24/7, so you're going to have to learn to entertain yourself. We're going to have to do some different activities here for a period of time. Now, fortunately, they can go outside, right? You have a yard, so they can get out when weather permits. Do you have somewhere you can take them outside, or are they trapped in all the time?
No, yeah, we have a backyard. We do a lot outside too. But yes, I think that's a great idea, just telling them, you know, they need to be responsible. And
I would sit down with them individually first and then collectively second. And listen, your children, the youngest is 7, Carter's 8. Even 7 and 8, they can understand they have a responsibility and a duty here. And maybe they need to grow up a little quicker. Maybe they need to mature a little faster here. But when they get into a meltdown, you need to have some guidelines where if they get to fighting with each other, they do need to go to a timeout, and you need to enforce it. And when they come back, it's very important that you have them talk about I statements. Instead of saying, you made this, you tore this up, they need to come back and say, I feel this way. Not character assassination. They don't, talk about the other one in a bad way. They say, I feel this way. And they need to stay in the here and now. Instead of, you always do this to me. They need to talk about just what's happened right there. And you need to program them in a way that what you're asking them to do meshes instead of clashes. Like, you don't want to have them really active right before they go to bed. And you need to do role reversal with them. Ask them to play you. Say, be me. What do you think I'm thinking right now? What do you think I'm doing right now in my mind, in my heart? Start asking them to be more mature mentally, emotionally, and physically. Give them duties. Make a chart. Give them gold stars when they do well for an hour. Come up with ways that they can earn different privileges where they can get your respect and approval and praise, because I promise you they want that. But you can't entertain them all the time. You can't do all the things. They have to do this for themselves. You're not asking enough of those children, and you need to do that. And I'd get that bat away from him to begin with. That'd be a great place to start. So put more responsibility on your children. You'll be glad you did. Marion, thank you for letting me talk to you.
Thank you.
All right, next, a mom and dad who've been forced to turn their home into a classroom, but their 9-year-old was already late to his first day of homeschool. How can you be late when it's right there? We'll meet them after the break. With schools being closed to stop the coronavirus threat, parents now have a new title to add to their resumes, and that's teachers. And some are literally transforming their homes into classrooms. Now, joining me are Dr. Eduardo and his wife, Michelle, who say their 9-year-old son, Trey, is having a little trouble accepting that his home is now his school. In fact, Dr. Eduardo posted this photo on Facebook after his son was late to his first day of homeschool. It read, "Trey is already late to school." So guys, welcome. Thanks for being here and talking about this, because it is happening across the nation right now, and this is a great example. How's it going so far?
I mean, it's an adjustment, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, it's an adjustment for the whole family, because we're trying to keep social distancing and keep them on task as well.
Right. And when you say homeschool, you have a curriculum from the school, correct?
Yes.
And do they sign on to their computer at a set time?
They're supposed to, yes.
Yeah, they're supposed
Okay.
to log on at 8 a.m. and then the teachers update, they post an assignment pretty much every hour.
Okay. So there is a outline to follow and a guideline to follow. And Michelle, you say it's hard because of the distractions at home that they just don't have in school, right?
Right, yeah.
So you have all that competing sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, here they can get up and go to the kitchen, get a snack when they want, grab a, something to drink. Or Trey's thing is that he loves to sharpen his pencils.
Right. And how does he do in school when he's there in the actual school building? How's he do with his normal classroom?
As far as we know, he does fine.
Yeah, he does great.
But you're not there in school.
Yeah.
He comes,
Have you talked to him about this?
What was it?
Have you talked to him about the distractions?
I mean, we've tried, but I guess what advice do you have to try to keep him on track on a school schedule? That's probably our most difficult point.
Well, here's the thing, and listen, this is tough for him, and it's tough for you guys too. And I'm so glad to talk about this, because what we really need to do is, your home has all of these triggers that you're calling distractions, and they are distractions, and they're triggers for him to do something else. There are things that he's had fun with, things that he has a space where he does certain things. He plays on the computer with certain games and talking to friends or whatever. And it looks like from the picture that you've got a very nice, clean space set up for them to sit down and do their work, correct?
Yes.
And what you have to do, what he has to understand is, look, when it comes school time, we're going to operate under what's called the PREMAC principle here. And that is, the PREMAC principle says you're going to do less desirable things in order to have access to more desirable things. And then you have to really enforce that. I mean, that's how children learn self-discipline. That's the reason that we early on learn to eat our peas before we eat our dessert. You got to do this before you can do that. It's why you do your homework before you can watch The Simpsons. It's why you do your yard work before you can go out on a date when you're a teenager. It's all of the things where we learn that we have to do less desirable things to earn access to more desirable things. It's called the Premack principle. And you have to have that conversation with him and let him know that he determines access to what he gets. And if he doesn't adhere to the school curriculum, if he doesn't get there on time, then one of those things that he enjoys, he doesn't have access to. If he gets up and walks away, then another thing that he enjoys, he doesn't have access to. And it's not that you're doing it to him. Your conversation needs to be, here's the deal. You need to understand it. You're in 100% control, and I really hope you get to watch TV tonight. I really hope you get to play with your toys. I really hope you get to spend time playing your video game. I really hope you choose to do that. We'll see whether you do or whether you don't, but it's totally up to you. And then you have to 100% stick with it, because he has to be able to predict the consequences of his actions with 100% accuracy. Now, respond to that.
Yeah, well, the other thing we have, what we're working on with Trey is social distancing. My elderly mom, grandma, lives with us.
Right.
And he adores her, always wants to hug on her and love on her. And he doesn't understand that we have to keep a little bit of distance right now. And that's starting to be a little difficult. So if you have any advice on how we could smooth that over, it'd be great.
Well, I do. And, you know, first off, you have to know that if you stay within the quarantine area and he has been there long enough for you to determine that he is not infected and he doesn't have any exposure to the virus, then you're in a quarantined and safe area, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Are you going to restrict him from her when you already know that he doesn't have the virus?
Well, part of with Trey has asthma, and with the weather the way it's been, it's starting to, bring up a cough and those kind of issues. So I'm just trying to err on the side of caution.
Yeah, so that's not just the virus, it's him infecting her with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that you just he needs to be mature enough to understand. But you didn't respond to what I said about the Premack principle and him earning the right to do the things and being in control of his own destiny.
I think that's great.
Yeah, that's
great
good, yeah.
advice. We love it.
Okay, you kind of glossed over that. You didn't respond to it when I said it.
We'll hold it.
Because that's really important. Listen, we need to put more on these children while we're in quarantine here, because they have arms and legs. They can do things for themselves. They can clean their own room. They can exercise control. They can do these things if we just ask them to do it. So I'm really hoping that you will do that. And he just needs to recognize that, you can't really risk making grandma sick at this point, and, learn ways where they can have fun and be creative with distance in between them. And they'll have a good time with that. I promise you they will. Dr. Eduardo and Michelle, we're out of time, but thank you for bringing this up. It really relates to a lot of people in America right now. What a great example. And you guys are great parents, because I know. And I really appreciate that. Next, so what are the do's and don'ts when it comes to this new educational transition? From how many hours kids should be spending learning to how to get them excited about continuing their education at home. We're going to answer all of that and more right after the break. Recently, I posted on my social media asking parents what they were struggling with now that their children's schools have closed. The most popular response was, quote, "What can I do to not disrupt my child's education and actually have them be excited about it?" Well, joining us now is Donna Tatro, a parenting journalist and expert who says there are simple things parents can do to get their kids to buy in to learning from home. So, Donna, it's good to talk to you again.
Hi, Dr. Phil. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here. As people know, Donna is my favorite expert on these subject matters of parenting and education, and now we have parenting doing educating. So it's a double whammy. Talk to me about what parents can do to make this work, because it's really a struggle for them.
It really is a struggle, and I'm in it. I have an 11-year-old and a 12-year-old. And so what kids and parents need to realize is that this is new territory for all of us. And if we can get on the same page, we can make it work. And we know that structure is so important, and schedules and active learning, and we can do all this. And I think that if parents can sit down and put some structure together in the home, it can work. And so I think what you have to start with is routine. Get up every morning as if you're going out to school. So that means brush your teeth, get dressed, have your breakfast, and then begin the day. And I think what you need to do is you need to set a schedule. And to get the buy-in with kids, let them help you make the schedule. Because it's okay if they do PE in the morning and then do math later and social studies later. And it's okay to let the kids have some leadership roles in this, because this is the new normal. And to get that buy-in that you talked about, we've got to let them help in the leadership roles.
So how many hours a day do you think it's reasonable to expect a child to actually be in front of the computer or sitting at the table working on their lessons?
What I think is reasonable is between 3.5 to 4 hours, because if you look at the regular school day, what's built in is assemblies, they've got morning meetings, they've got recess, they've got lunch. And so if you've got active learning going on for about 3.5 to 4 hours, you're good.
Okay, and how long before a break?
Oh, I would say it depends on the kid. So if it's a young kid, K through 3, 30 minutes, then take a 10-minute break.
Okay, so you're saying that based on the child, if they're younger, they have shorter times that they work and then get a break. And if they're older, they can maybe hold their attention a little bit longer before they get a break. So you have to kind of adjust it to the child. But it seems your points are get them to buy in, have a regimented schedule, get up, get showered, brush your teeth, get dressed, get ready to go. Make it feel as regimented or as much like real school as possible.
Absolutely, because then afterwards, then it goes back to regular mode. And they just have to understand we're in this together, we're learning, have compassion and curiosity, and work through it. You've got some soft skills that you can learn here, teamwork, communication, and like you always say, life skills. You could teach your kids life skills right now as well.
Well, Donna, we're going to make a list of these and put them on the website because you made some great points. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Phil.
All right, next, what do you say to your young children about the coronavirus without scaring them and creating anxiety? We'll talk about that right after the break. COVID-19 has changed life as we know it. Schools are closed, many cities have curfews and mandates for their community to stay at home. Words like self-isolation, quarantine, and social distancing have become part of normal conversation. I support every one of those terms. I support everyone adhering to that. Fear and anxiety over whether your loved ones, children, or yourself could become infected and tragically die is a reality. It's not a high probability, but it is a reality. Today, I have been focused on helping parents deal with the anxiety and stress of parenting during these ever-changing times. Now, before we go, I want to answer one last question that I saw on my Facebook from Christina. It read, "Please, Dr. Phil, could you possibly post a video on how to explain this epidemic in a way a child would understand? We live in a highly infected area, Seattle, and everything has come to a standstill. My 9-year-old doesn't understand. This is a scary time for us all." Yes, I can give you some points on this. Number one, you need to meet your children where they are. They don't assume anything. Find out what they know before you start talking. Number two, they take their cues from you, so be calm. If you freak, they'll freak. If they're 6 or 7 years old, don't introduce this topic to them. Find out if they know anything about it, and if they don't, you don't need to put this in their reality. Be empathetic. Don't say, "Oh, that's silly." Relate a scary story from your childhood and how you got through it. And the level of detail needs to be determined by their ability to comprehend it, and you want to empower them. This is show them what they can do to protect themselves and others. And this is a great opportunity to bond. Don't look at this as being in prison. Look at this as the time you've always wanted to spend with your children, with your spouse. Use this time. Really make it special. I want to thank all of my guests today, and a special thanks to all of my producers working remotely from home. You're seeing them all on the screen right now. Be sure to watch tomorrow when I speak with guests from across the globe, from Kirkland, Washington to Beijing, who all weigh in on how they're dealing with their own anxieties about the coronavirus. It'll be just me again. We'll see you next time.
Bounce, bounce, all the girlies bounce. Take 'em to my house, turn the party out. Bounce, 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 all the girlies bounce. Take 'em to my house, turn the party out.
You warned me 1,000 times, memories can kill ya, but I didn't hear ya. I thought that I could fly, but woke up on the asphalt. I swear there was the last stop. I've always been naive. Call it.
Ooh, you know we gon' get it. Ooh, you know we gon' get it. Ooh, you know we gon' get it. Every day and night, that's right. Ooh, you know we